Okay.
When you're nervous and you fall forward. Thank you for joining us at Petstock in South Melbourne. You're here today with the lovely Kristen and her new puppy Ronnie.
Hi.
And I'm Tamara from Underdog Training and Behaviour Consulting, and this is my little puppy Gilbert. We're going to be talking to you today about some different training options that are available to you and your four-legged friends.
Okay, so Tamara, Ronnie's 9 weeks old now, so does that mean that he's too young to start training?
We usually recommend that you start training as soon as you bring your puppy home, so any time from 8 weeks of age. The puppies that you bring home at 8 weeks, they're going through what we call their critical period. So that's 6 to 16 weeks of age, and during that time their brain will actually grow to 80% of its size. So the idea is that if we want puppies to reach their full potential, that we start socialisation and training during that time, and it will make it much easier when the puppy is an adult. When we have to change our circumstances, or the puppy might need to deal with different things, you might move house, things like that. Puppy that's had great socialisation during that critical period, so 8 to 16 weeks of age, will be able to cope with those things much more easily.
So when you say socialisation, does that just mean just with dogs and people? Or?
It certainly starts with dogs and people, but what we try and encourage people to do is think beyond socialisation just with other dogs and with other people. We like to encourage people to start socialising their pups with a variety of different places, environments. People are certainly a big part of that, so people of different shapes and sizes and ages is really important, but also things like different surfaces as well, so making sure that our puppies can cope with a slippery floor, for instance, is really, really vital, and then starting to think also about what we're going to want our puppies to do as an adult. So if they're going to be an adult that's going to be going to work, for instance, maybe in a busy environment where there's lots of different things happening, maybe some machinery, then we'd want to make sure that when they're a puppy in their critical period, that we really start socialising them with machinery, making sure they can cope with those sorts of things.
Okay, and so as in for their first sort of socialising, would you recommend puppy school?
Puppy preschool is a really great start. So we normally start with puppy preschool, where we can cover things like how dogs learn, go through exactly how to socialise the puppies as well, because it's really important that we do that correctly so that we don't end up with puppies getting fearful or maybe getting overexcited and reactive as well. And then we also cover things like your puppy problems, so chewing, mouthing, nipping, things like that tend to be pretty common with puppies. Toilet training, we go through how dogs learn and how to use rewards and positive reinforcement, those sorts of things, and we get you started on some basic obedience as well. So in this area in particular, it's really important that we get the puppies used to all things urban, okay, because this is such a busy environment for the puppy to deal with. So we certainly go through how you can start to do that within a puppy preschool. We also want to start thinking about what we call independence training. So independence training just means teaching the dog that it's okay for them to be alone, and the sooner we start that process, the better. It's very normal for puppies when they first come away from their litter mates to be a little bit anxious. You might bring a puppy home and they'll spend the first few days having a bit of a cry when you're not right there with them. And what we need to do is make sure that the training we do with them, thanks Gilbert, make sure that the training that we complete with them prevents any separation anxiety issues with them as an adult as well. Okay? We can also start teaching them good manners too. Puppies tend to get into habits really, really quickly, and what people don't realise is that the bad habits can happen as quickly as the good habits. So with training, what we want to do is make sure that we're working on developing really good habits so that we don't get bad habits staying with the dog as they get older as well.
Speaking of older dogs, I've actually got 2 older dogs, and one in particular can still be a bit naughty at times. Is it too late to train them?
It's definitely never too late to train any dog. We've had clients recently come to obedience classes with a 10-year-old dog, and actually one of the dogs that we've had in the last few months came to some private training, and that dog was 12, and he actually learnt really, really quickly, which was great. So it's never too late. What we want to try and do is make sure that we find the right technique and the right kind of training for the dogs as well. Every dog is a little bit different, so we usually need to adjust how we approach each dog, how we train each dog, and every owner is a little bit different as well. So we have some owners that have a certain set of expectations and requirements from their dog, and then we have other owners whose requirements might be a little bit different. So the idea is that we look at things like private training, we might do boarding and training walks, anything like that that we can tailor to the dog and to the owner as well to make sure they're getting the very most out of it that they possibly can.
Okay, And what are the main sorts of problems that people come to you for?
We deal with lots of different problems. It's not uncommon for us to have dogs that have aggression issues, either to people or to other dogs when they're out and about as well. We might have dogs that are a little bit destructive, so maybe when they're in the backyard they dig holes, they chew, they might escape, those sorts of behaviours. We also get dogs that suffer from anxiety, and that's something that we really want to get on top of as soon as we possibly can.
Yeah,
Thanks, Ronnie. So that it doesn't become more of an issue later down the track. We get puppies and adult dogs that are a little bit hyper excited in certain situations as well. Okay, Ronnie might be a candidate for a little bit of hyper excitability. So we deal with those things, and then we have sort of what we call obedience related problems. So things like pulling on the lead or zigzagging from side to side when you're trying to go for a nice walk, not responding to commands, so maybe going off the lead at the park, not coming when they're called, jumping up, nipping, things like that, that usually come from being a bit overexcited. So we deal with all of those sorts of problems. We try and encourage people to seek training sooner rather than later, because the sooner that we start working on the problem, the better, and usually we can start to resolve things pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think I'll be seeing you with Ronnie really soon. And so
we'll do some training with little Ronnie.
So if people need some training advice or to come and get your details, like, where can they contact you?
They can certainly stop by Petstock in South Melbourne, so just on the corner of Ferrers and York Street there, or they can certainly have a look at our website, which is www.underdogtraining.com.au, and we hope to see you all soon for some training with your canine friends.